All right, what's up, everybody? Happy Friday. Gonna jump into another weekly recap. This week was, kind of boring in terms of the names. I traded pretty much the same stuff all week and pretty much fought the same names every day this week. RGTI, IREN were the main culprits, and then was finally able to capture the big win today when we got the big pullback in IREN. Still holding some RGTI, which I'll go over later. But yeah, just been trying to get these, trying to catch the tops in these names, these big quantum runs, and IREN just getting super extended on the daily. So I was just trying to put myself in the position to capitalize in the event we did get a turn. And it just took, all week to finally catch the top side of these moves. Yeah, and what's nice too is we finally got a big day today with the Trump tweet, and volatility is coming back into the market, and I think the Qs are down about 2.5% right now, which is great. Market needs it. It's just been grinding higher for like weeks now, and it's just been very frustrating, slow action. So this is like a breath of fresh air. Been sitting on the sidelines with a bunch of capital, waiting for a deeper pullback like this to take place. So hopefully we'll get another day or two like this where I can start, picking up some names that I like for a little bit cheaper than where they were. All right, so let's jump into the trades this week. As I said, RGTI traded quite a bit. It has been a choppy headache for most of the week. And actually what I ended up doing, I'll go over later, is I ended up just taking a swing position with a little bit smaller size and added into some of the front side move, which I'm still holding now. And hopefully maybe next week we'll start to put in a backside on it and get some further downside, bigger pull in. So this was I think on Monday I was trading this. We had, let me just show you pull up the daily. We'll look at this real quick. So obviously been two huge legs on this name. The weekly is, full-blown parabolic, huge extension, massive weeks in a row, volumes escalating. We're starting to put in like a volume top here on the weekly, it looks like. And so hopefully next week we can get the breakdown through, right now today's lows is 44.63. And this move, we haven't broken a prior day's low, so that's what I'm going to be looking for. I'll probably, if we don't gap down through it, I would look to add through a prior day low to my swing and then look for a bigger pull in. But I was basically trading this every day this week, and you can tell it's just a lot of back and forth. And you'll see my trades are very choppy on most of them, a lot of reclaims. And this one, I think I talked about this up again last week. It's when you get these strong drives out of the open that fail hard and get back below VWAP, that often sets up for another leg lower. I think I had a couple of these trades this week. And so this was RGTIs. It started breaking back below VWAP after this sharp move. So I took my short, risking high a day, and was able to capture a nice little leg into it. I was a little bit more aggressive taking the profits, just the way this thing's been trading. It's a super pain in the butt. And we came in, tap low a day, reclaim low a day, and then we got a little bounce. Some sellers came back in. I added to it in anticipation of the low day break, and then I was looking for a bigger flush down into 38, and it got rebid again and bounced, and ended up taking a stop. I did a partial stop above this pivot, and then once it reclaimed VWAP, I took the rest off. So made a little bit of money, but just it was really hard to get any big follow through on these names this week, and this was just the first example of it. So that was RGTI. This was PayPal swings, just some trims that I took. I don't have the buy executions, but I was trimming on this day, and then this was the next day. So I'll pull up the daily here. Oh wow, I got absolutely crushed today. So I was buying it in this consolidation. I think I bought it. I started buying it on this day. There was news here. And I was buying it as it was pulling in, anticipating it to gap to dip lower and then go back higher. Ended up selling off a little bit. I ended up selling some puts at the 68s and the 66, and they both ended up working out. I just had to sit through some chop, and then we did get a really nice day here that I sold into. Got another nasty day the next day. I think I bought some more on this day as it was coming back up. And then we just got a really nice sequence with multiple gaps and a really nice breakout push through. And I was trimming all the way up into here. And I think I was all out in the like 75. So captured a really good one. I think my cost basis was around 68, mid 68, somewhere around there. So a nice win. Got I wasn't anticipating this big of a move out of the consolidation this quickly, but it's always welcome. Ended up working out really well, and I ended up, I think I was all out actually on this day, and then today obviously a huge sell down with the market. So those were some good outs. But that was PayPal swing, and then another RGTI short. Obviously another headache. We had another pop. This one was a little bit quicker, right? We had just 2 candles. We had a big pop and then a big fail, and I was shorting it as it was coming back into low day here. I took some quick trims. I think this one was on accident. I don't mean to trim here, but then popped back above VWAP, failed hard again. I added back to my short and got a nice leg lower here, 2 candles that I was trimming into, and then it just kind of grinded back higher. I added here, looking for the turn. I was expecting a little bounce against the 10-day and looking for it to roll over again. Didn't get that. Ended up bouncing back up in the VWAP. I added again on VWAP, and it just kind of chopped around and made a push. When it pushed above VWAP, I considered stopping, and then we kind of softened up. I added when it came back below VWAP, and then it kind of closed a little bit higher. So I was using this pivot as my stop, and then as you can see, we kind of chopped around and then finally broke above it. And then I tried it again. It ended up getting a nice break here. We had a little trend line. There's some good volume, good candle, good selling. Added back into it. I got a little bit of slippage. I was trying to be a little bit closer to the 43.20s and was closer to 43. So not ideal, but I did end up adding. I was trying to press this hard. I was looking for this to break down through lows, and obviously I didn't have the selling power there, and we ended up bouncing, so I cut it pretty tight with my stop. All right, so that was my second RGTI trade of the week. This was Poet. This was just a name that hit the scanner. I wouldn't say it was parabolic, but it was definitely extended. You notice we had multiple legs, and then what I really liked was coming into the third leg. We started getting some extension from VWAP. We started getting price acceleration in the candles, and we had volume coming in on them as well. You'll notice these candles, look how wide these are relative to all the other ones. Okay, and now we're in the third leg with this price acceleration, volume coming in, and then we put this nice little reversal candle here with really good sell volume. So I thought this was a good place to put on some risk, risking high a day and just seeing if we could get a pullback. Ideally, I'd like to see these come back into VWAP. This one just didn't have enough sellers to bring it down that far. It ended up chopping around 750 and then rebidding. We did have a nice flush here. Unfortunately, my orders were out like 730 down to 720s. I had them layered out, and it just didn't quite reach it. But once I saw it get rebid on volume like that, I cut most of my position, and then once it reclaimed the 10-day, I stopped out of the balance. So just an easy little mean reversion reversal, very clean price action. Once it made the turn and broke the power bars lows, it made a nice leg lower where we could capture 40, 50 cents on the move. All right, so that was Poet. Here we are again with the RGTI short. This was a real pain in the butt, as you can see. Another strong push, another fail. I missed the shorts at VWAP here. Might have been trading something else. But once I saw it holding, we had this nice candle here. I jumped in on the next candle, and it looked like it was doing pretty good. It looked like it was gonna, break down through lows, and there was a bidder at 44 that just kept buying. It kept rebidding every time it broke below, and so I was covering into it, kept adding, then cutting some, and then adding, and then we finally got the break below, and I was like, this is it, we're going down. And what do you know, instant rebid on the next candle. So I don't have my stop on. I ended up stopping out probably closer to 45 once it got above this pivot. But this day was super frustrating on the name because it was looking really good. Thought we were going to get the breakdown on it, and it just, every low a day that came, it got rebidded every time that day. It's just super frustrating. So I don't even know if I made a little bit of money, not much, maybe not even a base hit, but that was just how it was today or that day with RGTI. Super pain. So yeah, that was a third one on the name for the week. And then IREN, I traded. This is on the 8th. And this is another one that's just been a really big runner, right? And especially, you step back and look at the weekly on this. Look at this thing. This is insane. This is so hard for stocks to hold these kind of moves. But this is just really clean action. Hasn't broken a prior week's lows since maybe around here, and just had a huge move. And one of the telltale signs of a reversal is this price acceleration into this extension. Look how wide this weekly candle is relative to all the other ones, and you have the most volume. This is giving me kind of a strong indication that a top's starting to form. And that's kind of why I was so aggressive on it today, which I'll go over that trade in a little bit. But yeah, I was just trying this week. I think I was trading on this day. Was this the 8th? Yeah, because it gapped lower. I was like, all right, maybe this was the top and we're going to move down here. And it just ended up being a tight inside day. But I did scalp a couple bucks out of it. So what I was looking for here was we had this week candle. And on the next one, we made a push and we couldn't get over high a day. Okay, and this is, I always try and look for little clues, little indications in the price action, right? If buyers were strong enough, they should have pushed this through 60 and high a day and made a leg higher. This rejected pretty hard, and then on the next candle, it sold off pretty good, and I was shorting through the break of that low of that candle that couldn't make the highs. And we got a really nice move here that I covered some into. And what do you know, we get rebitted and reclaimed VWAP, and I was just, by this time of the week, had a good idea that this stuff was going to be happening, and so I was like, I'll just cut it at break even. I'm not going to add and try and fight this stuff. It is, if it was going to go, it should have gone, and it didn't. It rebitted, and I stopped out on the balance break even. Okay, so that was another one, IREN from the 8th, and then we had BJDX. This is just a small cap short. This was on the gap scan. Pull up. So it was on this day here, just a huge gap up. Like I say before on these small caps, just go back and look at the dailies on some of these. They're terrible, right? Like every pop is sold, and history repeats itself. These happen all the time, and so that's kind of what I look for in these names. So a lot of the times, this one actually happened the night before, but wait, what time was this? This is early morning, like 6. A lot of times you'll get the 4 a.m. news right around here that you'll get big pops and will be the top of these moves. This one happened a little bit later in the morning. Ideally, you would have been taking some shorts on these turns up here. Like this was a failed breakout here through high day. That would have been a good short to short against. I was not at my desk at that time, so a lot of times what will happen is they'll sell off, and on the back side you'll get these pops and the VWAPs that you can short against, and that was what I was doing on this one. So I shorted some here, was covering. We got a pop in the morning. I added, we were a little bit weak, and then we got a big buyer that came in, had some good volume on it, and you can tell there was just a seller here at the 4s, and I added a little bit more when we were rejecting, and you can see on the next couple of candles we kept rejecting that area again. So that made me feel a little bit more comfortable with it. And then we ended up finally breaking down a little bit later. It just took us time, consolidated. And you can see it started getting this wedge flag pattern where we got really tight, and then we finally broke out of it and made a nice leg lower. I probably should have added some here. I didn't. I might have been watching something else, but ended up making that nice move and then just covered into it. And you can see, like I was mentioning before, I think on last week's recap, after 10 o'clock on these faders, you should really start to see the volume start to die off, and that's when they'll flatline and just kind of grind lower. So that's what I did all the way until about 12:30 or so, and then we started to catch a bid, and I was like, I don't really want to fight. I had a small position left, and I was like, I'll just cut it here and move on and take my win. Excuse me. So that was BJDX, little small cap short. This was just a quick scalp, SGBX. This was a little bit of a tricky one. Thinner name. The news was nothing important, nothing that changed the bottom line, and it was a big move. So what I was just looking for the backside to catch a quick scalp lower. This actually I think ended up trading quite a bit lower. It may have gave up the whole move, but these can be really quick wins. I'll just look for a little bit of weakness, and then once this was having a hard time pushing back up above 450, I took my short and then just cover. It went my way right away, so I was just covering right into it for a quick little win. But oftentimes these are very quick, can be hard to get, And but this one gave me enough time to get an entry. So a nice little short scalp there in the aftermarket, after hours on yesterday. All right, what else we have? GWH, small cap short. That was this morning. Gosh, this morning feels like so long ago after all the action. Let me pull this up. Oh yeah, it's actually getting rebitted pretty big in the afternoon now. So this was the pre-market. Big move. We started getting some acceleration, kind of choppy. But we did have this like big volume spike and then it failed, right? So I was shorting on this turn here after the failed move. You can see this is a big candle relative to a lot of the other ones on like the fourth and fifth leg. So, and then you'll notice we also had some pretty good separation from VWAP. So I started shorting into that and added when it started to confirm. And then we got a nice flush carved into it. And this was just a really weak bounce, no real volume coming in. So I started adding into it and then added through the break of the lows of this pivot and, covered almost all of it into VWAP here. That's usually my target on these. And so we got it and I trimmed a bunch off and then it bounced, reclaimed the 10-day. Usually when these things are dead, these bounces are shortable, but we were coming in to the open and I wanted to be focused on IREN because we were having that big gap up today. And so I didn't want to be messing with other things while I was wrestling with that. So I just cut my position when it got back above the 10-day there. All right, and then we had IREN. All right, so this was the trade of the week for me. This was what I was trying to get all week, and RGTI and IREN as well. But IREN set up really well with this gap higher. Okay, had this really nice. I mean, first of all, we've had this huge run. I showed you a little bit earlier, and now we started getting a lot of these gaps. A couple more gaps, and then we got a really big gap into today. Okay, and Friday's really, is known for reversal days. And I come in, I see this gap higher, I see where we are on this move, and I'm thinking this could be the day. I want to be ready for it. I want to be aggressive. And just in case it does roll over, I got to put myself into position to make good money on this, because these are types of moves for me in my trading that can make my months and quarters when we catch these tops like this. And I can get a lot of conviction in these, and I feel comfortable putting size in these moves just because I have such a clear bias on which way it should be going. So yeah, I ended up getting pretty aggressive on it. I was shorting the opening candle. It's a little bunched up because the trade pretty much lasted all day so far. But I was shorting here. There was a little bit of weakness on the tape. Obviously, we got a pop up. I was like, I'm going to try and anticipate a failed breakout over pre-market. So I added to it. Then we started getting the move back in my favor, and I added to it again. This right here, this move, I think this was like a ghost print. I don't really think this happened. And so anyways, I was adding into the position, got a little cover off just because I had some size. Then I added to it again, got a nice flush, covered a little bit into low a day here. I was still looking for a bigger move. I was just trading around a position. And what do you know? We reclaim, rebid, low a day. And so I'm adding into VWAP. I was like, if this is a day, I'm going to be a bit more aggressive. And then obviously we rebounded quite a bit and ended up pushing high a day again. And I was sitting there thinking, I was like, I don't think this thing's going to be able to sustain this move. I think this is just another trap to kind of get some shorts out and get some longs in. And so I added as it was coming into it at just under 70. And luckily, the intuition kind of kicked in and it was right. And we failed up here and came back in. In hindsight, obviously, I would love to have been adding more and been even more aggressive on this. But I had good size on it and was happy with that. And we ended up getting a really nice flush where I was covering some into 67s and just below. Just in case we were going to do another rebid at low a day, I wanted to take some size off. Ended up just chopping around, and I was taking more size off as it was coming into low a days. And then I think this is when we got the tweet. So I think, and then we started really breaking down on volume. And I was covering into this whole move every leg we were getting lower, I was covering into it. And then I had to take a break. I could have probably added some shorts up into here, but I had to step away for a little bit. I was starting to get a headache. I've been trading since early and needed to, you know, kind of regroup. And then I came back this afternoon and we had this really nice kind of bouncy ball look. Like we put in this low here, really nice bounce, came back, didn't quite test lows, but bounced right above it. And then we put in a lower high here that came back into low a day, and it was kind of just chopping there. And then once it broke, I was like, all right, I'm gonna add a little bit here. And then I covered some into the move as it was working in my favor. And you can see it brought down my cost basis a bit. Before it was in the 68, like 50s area, had a really good, but I covered a bunch and then I added to it, brought my cost basis down, covered some more into it. And now I'm down to like a 20% position of where I was, and I'm going to hold that as long as this stays weak into the close. I'm going to hold that over the weekend and see if we can start to put in more of a backside move next week, where I'll be looking to add into bounces and see if we can make a bigger move down into like the low 50s and even more if we can. But I'm going to try and hold on as much as I can in this move, because once these backsides come in, this could come in a lot, right? Like a 50% retracement. I mean, let's say this is the breakout here, right? So like a 50% retracement, it's all the way back to like 45. So there's a lot of room to the downside. There's still a lot of meat on the bones. And I want to be involved if we get that bigger move. So I'm going to hold on to the position and let it work out as much as I can. What I would anticipate happening is maybe we'll get another down day and then we'll get like a dead cat bounce, which I think would be very shortable. And then after that, we'll get more of a sustained down move, right? So that's what I'll be looking for in IREN over the coming weeks. All right, so that was the last trade I believe I took this week. And then these were just some of the other ones. I was selling some puts on Merck that actually ended up working out. I sold them on this day, and on this day I was selling the 85s, and this bounce, for whatever reason, a lot of the premium eroded, so I sold some, and then we had a little gap up today. I sold some more, and then once the news came out, I just cut the balance, figuring that this would come in pretty sharp, and so far it has. But a lot of the premium was gone already on them, and so I was happy to cash in on those. What else do we have? The PLTR, I sold some puts on. I sold them on this day here. Or maybe it was this day. It was like Monday or Tuesday of this week. I sold some puts. This is a really good looking daily. If, obviously today with the news has come in quite a bit, but this was shaping up for a really nice look for a breakout higher. So I was just kind of anticipating. I sold some puts, and if this was going to break out, I was prepared to buy some equity. I was looking for it to break over this pivot, 186.26. Didn't quite get there, so never took any stock, and now we're kind of selling off. I'm going to let it reset and see if it can regroup and consolidate and maybe make another push. But it may need some time, especially with the markets where they're at right now and what's happening. It looks like we're sitting on lows right now. So that was PLTR. What else do we have? So, okay, so TGT, this was kind of just not something I normally do. I was kind of anticipating a rotation into some of the beatdown names with tech being so overbought. I did make some money. I was buying on this news, and I kind of just held through this chop. I sold some into this move, and then we had a really nasty day yesterday. Obviously a huge down day today. I had sold some calls on it. I don't have that big of a position on it, so I'm not super worried. I'll hold on to this and just sell calls against it and wait till it comes back. But yeah, it's in my swing account. I think I probably have like a 20% position on it, maybe. So we'll see what happens there. Obviously not the best look, but that was target. And then so RGTI swing. So I think yesterday I took a little bit home, just a small started position, and then we were kind of gapping up higher, and I added a little bit this morning. I think I added some here when we had this like failed breakthrough high day, just a little bit. I don't have a very big position on it yet. But who knows, if this really weakens up, I might add some more into the close and then hold it over the weekend. This says, obviously a lot of downside too. if this wants to pull in some more. I think I don't think I would cover any until we break through 40. I think that'd be my first target area. But yeah, I'm looking for a breakthrough prior day lows would be, I think, the first clue that the turn is starting. We're starting to put in a top, so I'm going to look to add on that. Right now, as I was saying earlier, 44.63 is the area for today. We'll see how this ends up closing, but I like this for some downsides. This company isn't, for where it's at right now, this is like a sub $10 stock, and this is just a bunch of hype, jumping in this name, and so I'm just looking to catch the backside on it. And that is RGTI. So we'll see how that plays out. IREN and RGTI are still very much on my radar for next week, and so you'll probably see a lot more trades coming out in next recap on these as well. All right, and then the IREN trailer. So like I was saying, I have a little bit left. I'm going to hold on to this. This is putting in a really nice topping candle, pretty much engulfing all of yesterday. Lots of downside on this left. We're going to hold on to that and see if we can get some good add spots on it as well. And then as far as looks for next week, look, the Q's got absolutely obliterated on that tweet, and this is the biggest down day we've had in a while. I think it was like 2.5, almost 3% now. And the market needs it, right? Like, we've been in such a grindy up move, and now we've got some volatility coming back. Would love to see another day or two of this. Maybe come back into the 50-day or a little bit lower, and 578 was a good level. And that way, if we can get like a 5 to 7% pullback, that would be a really good look for coming into the end of the year. Maybe we'll get, the Santa Claus rally, and this would be the dip that we could buy into for that. Now, given how much we've come in the last few months, I don't know how much there's going to be for end of the year rally. It might, I don't think we're going to have what we had last year. But still, if we can get a decent pullback, I think it's going to be very viable, and I'll be shopping probably some indices and whatever, some of the bigger names that have gotten hit pretty hard on this pullback, I'll be looking to buy as well. So over the weekend, I'll kind of do some shopping and game plan some ideas out for next week, and in case we do get a bigger pull in, if this wants to escalate with China and the tariffs and everything, I want to be ready for what names I'm going to be looking to buy. All right. So that was my week. I hope you guys had a great week as well. There was some pretty good opportunities, and I will catch you all on Monday. All right. Have a great weekend.